to your crib, you ain't safe on these blocks. Get lost, Goldilocks. This land has deep roots, solid as the rocks. Get lost, Goldilocks.
The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are high. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter. You the only one to blame. Bleeding for a fucker while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash of defeat. LOSCR. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter. You the only one to blame. Bleeding for a fucker while you shaking in your sweet. LOSCR. Taste the ash of defeat.
Sir, Iranians have released a new Lego-style animation.
It's very clear that Donald Trump is not fit to serve as president and commander-in-chief of the United States at this point. And I have called for the use of every possible tool to remove Trump from his position, whether that's the invocation of the 25th Amendment, which would require the cabinet acting, impeachment, which would require Congress to act. And we are planning to put another war resolution on the House floor as soon as we're able to vote to end the war. And so we're looking at all constitutional means to rein in Trump and to stop him from committing crimes. But there's certainly among the caucus, the internal conversation is that this is a full-scale emergency and we need to do everything we can to come back in session and put pressure on our Republican colleagues to act.
These are war crimes. To bomb civilian sites like this, of course, we still are reeling from the mistaken bombing of a school in Iran in the early days of the war. I don't know how to convey to my Republican colleagues any more than I have already. They have to stand up to this.
Yeah, I disagree with the statement. I think it's pretty evil. I don't think he, as the president, has that authority. He's not God, and he's kind of acting like Stalin right now. So, you know, I know he wants what's right for the country, but he dug a hole that he can't dig out of, and I don't think violence is the answer. So, yeah. I did vote for him, but I never thought we'd be in a war. I think back in the day, like, everything just snowballed, you know. So I don't know. I don't like where we're at right now as a country. I don't like how he's acting. I think he's acting like authoritarian, you know. So, but you know, it's out of my control. You know, we can do what we can do, but. Yeah, it's scary though. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's kind of, Iran's a big country with, you know, they're Persia. Iran's Persia, and Persia beat the Spartans, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, this country's so young, and I feel like that we are probably not taking our cues from the Roman Empire. You know, I think we're kind of spreading ourselves thin, making enemies where we don't need to make enemies, all for oil and money. So Iran's probably top 5 in oil producing countries along with Venezuela. So I feel like that's probably the trend. And of course, I don't know that for sure, but these are just my thoughts. And basically, I think we just need to take some cues from the Roman Empire, or this young country will fall before we get a chance to really realize our potential.
At least to this moment, the American and Israeli claim of shock and awe overwhelming the Iranian government is not true. And quite the contrary, it seems that there's a lot of worry, in fact, beneath the surface, that the ability to defend against especially the Iranian missile attacks is waning, and in the Gulf region almost non-existent. So this is why the whole world is watching this in amazement. We are seeing fundamental things play out, and they're also extremely dangerous. They can escalate to nuclear war without question. In the United States, the public opposes the war quite overwhelmingly, and nothing that Trump has done has changed that. And this unease and opposition is very widespread. Of course, Donald Trump can and should pack up and go home, but it's very unlikely to happen. And the backdrop of all of this is the continued American assertion of hegemony. That's not only Trump, that is the dominant American foreign policy idea that America must be and is the most powerful country in the world in every region, and must constantly prove that or demonstrate that if there are any doubts. So a war in Iran is not about Iranian issues. A war in Iran is about demonstrating America's full and unconstrained power, and it must be proved to the whole world that it is full and unconstrained. That's the backdrop. That goes beyond the question of Trump. But on top of that problem, which is the assertion of hegemony, which is a claim that the U.S. believes in and makes, but cannot fulfill, because the U.S. doesn't have the predominant power to do that, other than in utter destruction. There is the personality of Donald Trump. And personalities make a difference in wars. Wartime leaders make a difference. And the more we understand the situation in the U.S., the more the personality factor plays in. You know, we can give structural reasons for the American demands on hegemony. This is something that goes back decades. We can also talk about financial motivations and the pressures, or not even pressures, I should say, the lobbying and the money-making from the war profiteers. And there's no doubt that a lot of Silicon Valley, Palantir being case number one, is a great proponent of these wars. By the way, just parenthetically, they want to test their new AI-driven weapon system. So this is also for them experimentation. It's lab work. The fact that people are killed and there's a war, all the better. It's very realistic. We can see how these weapons work. There's a certain madness, greed, tens, hundreds of billions of dollars driving this. Same is true in Israel. So there's a side of this that is very direct. But I was saying that even with all of those structural features, the claims of hegemony, the size of the military-industrial complex, the huge money-making and grift that goes into this, the personal grift of Donald Trump and his family, who are the most corrupt officials in U.S. history. I mean, corrupt family and president in U.S. history.